Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into a really huge idea, something that sits right at the intersection of physics, information theory, and, believe it or not, theology. We're going to explore a way of thinking that reframes God not as some being up in the clouds, but as a fundamental principle of the universe itself. So yeah, let's get into it.
So, right off the bat, this is the single radical question that everything else we talk about is going to hinge on. Just think about this for a second. What if that force we call God isn't some supernatural being at all, but instead it's a cosmic law? A law that systematically creates order and, this is the key part, it does so from within the existing rules of physics. What would that even look like? Let's unpack it.
All right, first things first, to even begin to wrap our heads around this, we've got to set aside the traditional image, the old man with the beard, the thunderbolts. This theory isn't about that at all. It's about looking at divinity as a cosmic principle of organization. Okay, so here's the absolute core of the idea. The theory is that there's a universal force that doesn't just show up and perform miracles, breaking the laws of physics. Instead, it works through them. Think of it less as a magician and more as an architect of emergence, a force that's guiding the formation of all the complexity we see, from life all the way up to consciousness itself. Now, to really get this, we have to talk about a key concept from physics, and that concept is entropy. But here's the twist. To understand the theory we're exploring today, we actually need to look at two different kinds of entropy. And what's even more important, the crucial relationship between them. So this whole idea really rests on a fascinating contrast. On one side, you've got what you might call physical messiness. That's Boltzmann entropy. Think of just stuff getting jumbled up. On the other side, we have informational uncertainty, and that's Shannon entropy. So one is about the physical arrangement of atoms, and the other is all about how predictable a message is. They sound different, right? Well, let's see. Let's zoom in on Boltzmann entropy first. This is probably the one you've heard about in science class. It's the simple reason a gas doesn't just stay neatly packed in one corner of a room, right? It spreads out, it fills the whole space. That's the second law of thermodynamics in action. Basically, in a closed system, physical disorder, or messiness, always tends to go up. Okay, now for Shannon entropy. This one comes to us from the world of information theory. Imagine you get a text message. If the message is just A, it's totally predictable. It has super low, basically zero Shannon entropy. But what if the message is just a random jumble of letters and symbols? That's completely unpredictable, right? It has very, very high Shannon entropy. It's a measure of surprise, of uncertainty. Okay, so here is the crucial point, the part where this all clicks together. It turns out that mathematically, the formulas for physical disorder, that's Boltzmann, and informational uncertainty, that's Shannon, are, well, they're basically two sides of the same coin. They are, in a very real mathematical sense, different ways of measuring the same fundamental thing. And this connection, this is the engine that drives this entire hypothesis. So, if physical disorder and informational uncertainty are linked, how does that lead to order? How do you get complexity out of that? Well, this next part explains the proposed mechanism, a kind of cosmic balancing act, if you will. So here's how the process is supposed to work, broken down into 3 steps. Step 1. The universe, just doing its thing, naturally gets messier. Its physical or Boltzmann entropy goes up. Step 2. This theory suggests there's a guiding force that strategically redistributes that growing disorder. And why? For step 3, to create these localized pockets of really high information, places with low Shannon entropy. The takeaway here is absolutely profound. It's a system that uses universal chaos to pay for local meaning. Okay, that's a pretty wild idea, right? But is it just a cool thought experiment, or is there any evidence for it? Where in the universe might we actually see the signatures of this process happening? Well, the theory points to 3 main areas where this might be playing out. And the first, and maybe the most intuitive place to look for this, is in life itself. You could almost see biology as a masterclass in this exact kind of entropy management. I mean, think about it. Living things are basically entropy machines. Your own DNA is a perfect example of incredibly low Shannon entropy. It's this highly specific, incredibly information-rich sequence, not just random noise. So how do you, as a living thing, maintain all that beautiful internal order? Well, you do it by constantly exporting disorder, high Boltzmann entropy, out into your environment, mostly as heat and waste. You are literally a walking, talking pocket of localized order. Okay, so from the very small, let's zoom all the way out. Let's go from the biological to the cosmic scale, because the very structure and history of our entire universe might also be a signature of this exact principle at work.
Physicists have been scratching their heads for a long time about how perfectly tuned our universe seems to be. The fundamental constants of physics are just right for stars to form, for planets to exist, and for life to emerge. And crucially, the universe started in this state of remarkably low entropy, which is the only reason any structure could form in the first place. I mean, the formation of a whole galaxy is a perfect example. It's creating a local pocket of incredible order, but it comes at the cost of increasing the overall entropy of the universe around it.
And finally, we come to maybe the most intricate and mind-bending example of all, the human mind. The theory suggests that our own consciousness might be the ultimate entropy-reducing machine.
Some really interesting modern theories of consciousness, like integrated information theory, directly link being conscious to a system's ability to create order out of data. Just think about what your brain is doing right now. It is being bombarded with chaotic, messy sensory input every single second. Sights, sounds, feelings. It takes all of that noise and creates a single, coherent reality for you. That is a massive reduction in informational entropy. And how is it powered? By the very process we've been talking about. It's burning energy and exporting physical entropy as heat.
So what does it all mean? What are the big takeaways here? If we actually start to view the universe through this lens, it really changes our perspective on some of the biggest questions we have, including the age-old debate between science and faith.
This way of thinking doesn't try to make science and religion fight each other. It doesn't try to replace one with the other. Instead, it suggests something much more interesting. As the idea is put here, rather than competing explanations, science and religion could represent different levels of analysis. Science could be focused on the how, the mechanisms, while faith could explore the why, the meaning and purpose behind it all.
And this really represents a fundamental shift in thinking. So instead of divine action being about supernatural intervention, miracles that break the laws of nature, it becomes about systematic optimization that works through those laws. And God isn't an old man in the sky. It's an underlying cosmic principle. Creation isn't some event that happened billions of years ago. It's an ongoing process of building order that is happening right here, right now.
And this is where it all comes back to us. Why does any of this matter? Well, because it kind of reframes our own purpose. It suggests that every time we create order out of chaos, whether we're writing a piece of music, developing a new scientific theory, or just acting with kindness and creating moral order, we could be participating in this fundamental divine cosmic process of creating information and meaning. Which leaves us with one final huge question. Is the incredible complexity we see all around us, from a single molecule of DNA to a swirling galaxy to your own mind, is all of that simply the result of random chance playing out over billions of years? Or is it the signature of a deeper, underlying principle, one that systematically guides the universe from chaos toward order? That's the idea this explainer leaves us to think about.